Hello everyone who's joined us on Facebook Live. I'm Simon Gilbert, Chief Reporter for the Coventry Telegraph. We're joined here today by Amy Challoner from the Green Party, Michelle Lowe from the Conservative Party, Geoffrey Robinson from the Labour Party, Ian Rogers from UKIP and Andy Hilton from the Liberal Democrats. Just one, possibly two questions from social media. I think it's going to be one actually because we're running out of time. But this was one that's been put to us by a few people, and it sort of relates to the case of a local Coventry man called Jonathan Evans. He died at the age of 31 after receiving blood infected by HIV during his treatment for haemophilia. A few people have been on asking whether you as candidates, if elected, would support an independent inquiry into that scandal, for want of a better words, that affected so many people. I think if we start this time, I think Andy, are we working our way around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm personally very glad that you asked that question, and I'll try not to be too emotional when I explain it. I think, Simon, you know that my brother has haemophilia, so this is a subject very close to my heart. The only inquiry that we've had into the worst scandal in the entire history of the NHS was not a statutory inquiry. Not a single government minister or official from that time gave evidence. Not a single senior health service official gave evidence to that inquiry. So predictably enough, that inquiry was pretty much meaningless. The victims, those who were infected with HIV, received a payment from the government of £23,000. In Ireland, that compensation was £250,000. We really have treated these people appallingly. Many of those people are now getting older, and even haemophiliacs who weren't infected are now getting to the point where, because of the treatment they have, they are the first haemophiliacs to live into their 40s and 50s and 60s, and many of them are now becoming disabled because of the damage that bleeding disorders do to joints.
I come in support entirely what Andrew's saying here. I haven't been an MP.
But would you let me finish?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. It's disgraceful that Theresa May is denying a proper inquiry. Andy Burnham, the excellent former Labour MP, says that he has evidence of criminal cover-up in this case. And the only way to resolve this is a public inquiry. He did a lot of the work towards the recent Hillsborough inquiry. And he supports a similar basis of inquiry for the Contaminated Blood Scandal. We have to have this, it has to happen.
Okay, I think we have to move on to the next one, and we're running out of time, so very strong views there.
Yeah, just one more last point. Obviously a lot of these people, in fact every haemophiliac in that era was unable to obtain a mortgage because of the threat of HIV infection. Mm-hmm. So a great many of them are now living with parents. So Theresa May's dementia tax now threatens that after we've infected many people through their health care in this appalling scandal, we're not only not going to give them an inquiry, because Theresa May says they don't deserve one, but also now if they're unlucky enough that their parents, who they depend on for housing, should suffer dementia, we're also going to make them homeless when their parents die.
Yeah. That
is a disgraceful approach to caring for people who are victims of the worst scandal in the history of the National Health Service.
Okay. Very strong points there, obviously one that's an issue that's very close to Andy's heart. Amy, as succinctly as possible if we could please, would you support an inquiry into this issue?
Yeah, we definitely support an inquiry into this issue. I think the fact that there was a contamination issue is something that needs to be very deeply looked into by the highest level. I think the inquiry is the best way to go. We also need to review the blood donation rules to make sure that they're stringent and equally applied. And again, it's about making sure the NHS has the funding it needs. This horrific contamination definitely needs to be looked into, and I would definitely support an inquiry.
Michelle?
I think it's an absolutely tragic and sad situation. I think it's absolutely awful. Since 2010 we have doubled the compensation that we are paying people, and we have opened up all our records so that they can see what happened in the 1980s, but I won't be supporting an inquiry.
But that's not the records that when Dr David Owen tried to obtain his ministerial records from his time as Health Minister in the Labour government from 1974 to 1976, he was told those records had been destroyed.
Well,
We don't go around destroying ministerial records. It's not something we do as a country. So somebody has done that deliberately.
Michelle, can I ask one
And
question?
that deserves, at the very least, an inquiry.
Can I ask one question? Why don't you support an inquiry?
Which was going to be my follow-up.
Because if we've opened up the records so that they can be looked into independently, there's no need for an inquiry. But if there's any issues of any, if I was elected as
Do you
the
think that the victims should pay for their own legal teams to look into those records then? Is that what you're
Can you
saying?
understand why there might be
course.
concerns of transparency and openness?
Of course I can understand, and if there's any people in Coventry South who have suffered that as their Member of Parliament, I'll do all I can to support them as individuals.
Jeffrey, your views on this?
Well, I only wish. I think this is a terrible scandal. It's the worst scandal in the NHS's history, and it is a cover-up, and it is a cover-up by the civil servants under all governments. And all governments on this issue go right back, beyond Harold Wilson actually goes back to the government before him. That's how far this goes back. Have not faced up to the reality and have not wanted the reality exposed. It is an awful business. All governments are to blame. I'm only sad that Andy Burnham, who was Health Secretary, had the opportunity actually to do something about it. He recognises now, and I've had words with him privately as well as in addition to what he said publicly, and he does regret it, that he didn't take the steps necessary to have that inquiry then. It's not a general inquiry about the responsibility for this. The Health Service has admitted it, and has admitted that it got it wrong. It's a terrible thing to inflict death on your own patients in the way that this scandal has, the contaminated blood scandal. Let's have that inquiry, and let's have it clearly directed at exposing the cover-up that's gone on too long.
Okay.
How Michelle Lowe
Can I just add very briefly
Very briefly.
that
because
the measures that Dr David Owen tried to implement in the Labour government in 1974 and 75, which was to become entirely self-sufficient in our supplies of blood plasma for haemophiliacs, that was implemented in Scotland, and the infection rate in Scotland was half of the infection rate in England. So we know clearly that there was evidence and there were opportunities to prevent, or at least to mitigate a lot of the damage that was caused.
Okay.
And the government did not do that.
Ian, your views?
It obviously sounds like a very disturbing case. If there's more information to come out, then I would support an inquiry. So quite simply, I agree with Andy, Jeffrey and Amy.
Okay. Right, and this is going to be where we wrap up, guys.